So tonight we brought the proposed 2023 budget for the library that we would just like to run through to show the select board. And then we have 3 follow-up questions that are directly or indirectly related to the budget that can follow right after the budget. And these 3 questions we'd just like to get select board input, your opinion on, so we can start with the budget. Sarah's been hard at work for the past about a month and a half crafting this budget with the trustees. She's put a lot of time into it. And overall, it results in about 7.9% tax request increase. The previous year, the tax increase didn't go up much at all. So this year, there's sort of a expected higher increase than normal. Revenue is pretty much the same as it was last year, for the most part. And then under expenses, let's see, and then Sarah can fill in the blanks for everything that I missed. But this year we are planning to increase the salaries for the director and the assistant librarian, I would say somewhat significantly. In past years there's been less increases. This year we are hoping to make up for that with a more generous increase. So you can see under salaries is an 11% increase for Sarah's salary, and then the assistant salary of 31%. We can actually come back to that number later. That relates to one of our questions.
I just want to point out though that the assistant salary is actually a 6.1% increase, and the bigger increase is because there's additional hours, three additional hours a week. So the reason that she's not getting a 31% salary increase, it's a change in the number of hours she works.
Right. The health insurance, as you guys know, is going up somewhat, an 8% increase. That would be the same for you, your budget. We have decreased, you'll notice if you get about, first page about midway down under operating expense, you'll notice that we are cutting some book budgets and periodicals and some programming you'll see on the next page. Significantly, and the reason for this is because we've been having discussions with the Friends, and the discussion is that the Friends are interested in funding some of these line items that ordinarily would be funded by the budget, that the Friends would, at some point in the coming year, hopefully this early in the year, they would make a donation to our revenue to cover these types of things. The Friends are interested in buying books, they're interested in periodicals, they're interested in those types of real library type items, as opposed to like the fuel bill. You know, they're interested in funding things like books. So you'll see that a number of those line items are significantly reduced. The exact amount has not been set just yet, but this has been shared with the Friends as a strategy. So they're aware of this in our discussions. We have some of these items are increasing because of inflation, like fuel. You've probably also made similar guesstimates on next year's energy costs, postage costs, internet costs, and so forth. This year probably, a larger increase than normal. The next page, you can see some more of those decreases on programming at the top. Same reason. And the grant expense, I would let Sarah explain. But then under property expenses, we have increased repairs and maintenance significantly. the building is starting to show some wear after 10 years. There's some things. Sarah's been great at checking on all our systems, making sure our batteries and our emergency light packs are working, making sure our light bulbs are burning. Some of them burned out. So she's been getting estimates from electrical contractors to upgrade our lighting, our light bulbs in the library. But in general, you've heard about the sidewalks. In general, things are beginning to require repairs, so we are now adding to the repairs and maintenance budget more than we had in the past. So you'll see an increase there. The FICA is just a result of the increase in the salaries. Sarah, are there any other significant line items that you want to make a note about?
Yeah, like Peter mentioned with the electrical work, like all of our exit lights, like the lights that come on, if the power were to go out, they're all expired and they'll need to be replaced. So we're facing like a $2,800 electrical repair in the new year, that sort of thing, which is why we did add, so as you know, when you squint at it, you can see that in the property expense section, everything was an increase, both with increased needs for the older building and with inflation, because since last year we had a 0% increase that didn't account for inflation. We've kind of having to make, an adjustment this year to catch up. So that's why we made the deeper cuts in the operating expense lines wherever we possibly could, to try to balance it out and ease that taxpayer request for sure. So like I said, because we had 0% increase last year, we're just gonna have to do a little bit of catching up. I think Peter, did a good job of covering it. When you do see the 22 budget versus the 23 budget in the revenue, some of the surplus operating funds that had come over were restricted. So those were from ARPA and the property insurance issues that had happened that year before, where our property insurance hadn't come out, so they came out this year instead. So everything really lines up. We expect a little bit, hopefully more. The grants last year were higher because we did get 2 ARPAs. Don't expect that again. So, but yeah, so we're hoping for some extra revenue to make up for those deep cuts that we were having to make in the programming and book budgets. But we certainly recognize we need to cut somewhere in order to make this all work for the taxpayers. So, do you have any questions at all? Any lines jump out at you that you've puzzled about?
Is the insurance line, is that health insurance or is that property insurance or?
In the operating expenses, it's health and life. It's
Page 1 is health.
yeah.
Okay, so page 2, that's
Page 2,
property
so-
insurance?
Yeah.
Property. Yes. So that's the property insurance. As you can see, it was $6,000 of projected expense from this year, but that's because 2021 waited and came out of 2022.
Okay.
So that's kind of why. So that's made up for in the surplus operating funds that's on the first page. So those 2 lines can cancel out 2021's property expense. I know that seems a little confusing, but that's where that comes out. So we will return to 1 year's worth of property insurance.
Right. Okay.
We zeroed the grant writer's salary.
Oh, yes, because last year, the grant, in this past 2022, the grant writer didn't get paid, so the 2022 money will pay for the 2023, that's why there's a 0 for the grant writer.
Right.
Which eases this adjustment year of trying to catch back up with inflation. So next year, we would anticipate that $2,500 coming back into this budget. It's kind of nice to get a pass for a year on.
What were your questions, Peter? You had three questions or?
Okay, so Kathy and, you guys can correct me if I screw up the story, but, Sarah and Kathy were discussing, let me back it up, one more. So this year, there's a proposed compensation for the assistant librarian that would include some paid leave, 38 hours of paid leave, which would accrue at 1 hour per 52 hours worked.
The 38 hours was 2 weeks a year worth of her 19 hours a week of typical work. So that's customary at all of the libraries in Franklin County, is that even the part-time people get 2 weeks a year of paid time off equal to the number of hours they work. So the original proposition was that Wendy, the part-time person, get 38 hours a year of paid leave.
And this would come to about $494 a year.
Right.
This 38 hours in question. Question is,
So is that for everything? Bereavement, sick?
no, this, in addition to the 38 paid leave, we have proposed to increase her hours above 18, which would kick in some sick leave, which would result in it would result in 21 hours of sick leave
Per year.
per year. So what I said, the 38 hours would just be paid leave, like time off for hours worked.
So like if she's, Veterans Day is a day that she normally would work and it's closed, she would still get the pay for that up to 38 hours a year. But yes, so currently she works 16 hours a week for most of the year. And then in the summertime, we're closed on Mondays, which is just a 3-hour shift. And so she drops down to 13 hours a week in the summer currently. But as I shared at our last meeting, how I was talking about our staffing hours being so many less than the other libraries, yet our visitation is a whole lot more. We're hoping to get 3 more hours a week for Wendy so that she works 19 hours a week for most of the year and then 16 hours a week in the summer. But when we do have holidays and things, we close and she just loses that pay. And like I said, it's the other libraries all give pay to the part-timers at a rate equal to 2 weeks of their.
So she gets no paid time leave?
She does
now?
not get any paid time off.
So
But if we do increase,
if I understand, so we're going from 0 to 59 hours.
Yes, if you combine paid
You
leave.
put the two things together.
Yeah.
right, the 21 hours are not, we have to do those, the sick leave, by Vermont law. As soon as somebody works more than an average of 18 hours per week.
Right, but
They have
my
to-
question was, you're going
Yep.
from 0 to 59 hours.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
If in the simple mathematics of it, yes.
I'm a little confused, so that question is not,
The real question is, Kathy pointed out that in the town personnel policy, you don't have paid leave for the employees under the select board.
who work less than 30 hours a week
Do you see? But the library is proposing that we do it over there.
for a lower number of hours a week.
Yeah.
So it's a difference from so currently, Wendy and I are municipal employees, so we follow your personnel guidelines. We fall under all of the rules of your personnel manual, but your personnel manual says that nobody earns paid time off until they work at least 30 hours a week. So I guess the question is, can we offer paid leave to Wendy?
I think that is the
without,
question.
so if the answer was
So-
yes, is that reflected in this budget? Or is
Yeah.
that,
It is.
so this budget assumes our answer was yes?
Well, yeah.
That's what I want.
And I just wanted to interject that after reviewing it carefully, the eligibility of benefits is for full-time employees, the number is 30 hours. But when we get to the holiday leave and the vacation leave, it just references full-time employees. It doesn't say 30 hours again and again. It just says it in the very beginning for eligibility of benefits. So just clarifying.
So, how does the select board feel about two different policies, personnel policies? One for the library that would have this difference articulated, or the select board revises the town personnel policies so that it would remain parallel. You know what I mean?
So you're asking us to increase our budget because you wanna increase yours?
Just
If I'm following your logic.
Or for permission to do something different,
yeah,
as long as we include
or
it in our
just
own policy.
we'll make our own personnel policy.
It's only like, it's less than $500, but
It starts off at $500. Usually these things escalate in a few years, you get yourself out there $7,000. That's why I'm asking, make sure I know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yep. So that's question number one. Either adjust the existing policies so it's parallel, or we have two different policies that are not the same.
We don't wanna change that. I'm not inclined to change our town policy.
So we don't have any minimum wages on them.
Right, we don't have any part-times of those low hours, cause I'm sure they're,
One person, but I agree with you,
I'm not voting to change our town policies, just tell you right up front, so I guess it depends on whether you want a separate policy for the library.
So just in terms of technicality, we would have to have a separate policy drafted in order to enact this by January 1st. Right, because you wanna give this to, as an agreement, starting
So
January 1st.
the library would have to.
That's what I'm saying.
So I guess we would have to.
so then it would return to the.
We currently don't have a personnel policy at the library, so I guess we just.
So you don't follow the town's policy?
We do.
They do.
Have been.
Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we just follow the town's policy? I know you want,
Because we wanna make this change.
Yeah. I think if you have a town policy, then you guys are part of the town business, not follow the town policy.
Right. Second question. This year, for both Sarah and the assistant librarian, we are proposing a 3.5% cost of living increase, plus what's called a market rate adjustment. So we're actually proposing that Sarah's salary be increased a total of 11%. 3.5% of that is a cost of living increase. And the balance is what we're calling a market rate adjustment to reflect current conditions in the market. The assistant librarian is similar. Her hourly rate increase is 6.1. She's going from 16.35 to 17.35 an hour. That 6.1% would also be broken down by 3.5% cost of living increase, and the rest being a one-time market rate adjustment. So, I guess my question to the select board is, have you decided what your cost of living increases are gonna be for the coming budget, your coming budget?
Yeah,
Nothing yet? No.
We're gonna meet on Thursday all day.
You're gonna meet on Thursday all day.
you'll be lonely, you be by yourself.
It's Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday, sorry.
So,
You knew something I didn't?
Yeah.
let's say it's a different, well, you probably won't be breaking your number down like we are, but let's say your number is different than ours.
Where did you get your cost of living number?
It was,
Did
Well-
you say 3.5%? Was that?
well, that part, yeah, we're calling the 3.5,
That's the same rate that the federal government is providing for their employees,
That's what
cost of living increase this year. But it does not account for the I believe it's a 8.5 cost of living COLA from the Social Security Department. So, you know, it's funny because you can look at the cost of living adjustments suggested by Social Security, but when it comes down to coming up with our own, it really is based on what the local priorities are, political priorities, whatever makes the most sense for the communities.
So it may be the case that at the end of the day, when both budgets are finished, they won't be the same percentage between the town and the library, just so it's understood.
And that's served true in previous years.
Last issue. Recall when I was talking about the budget, how we decreased, call it books and programming. Because we've been having these continued discussions with the Friends, where they have expressed interest in contributing to the library for those two types of things. So this is not in writing. The Friends are an independent organization. They're generous. They pretty much can decide what they want to donate, what they don't want to donate. But call it a gentle person's agreement that we expect a donation from them sometime in the beginning of this coming year. It's a bit of a risk and it's a bit of a trust, but they're our friends, so, you know. Kathy has wrote us a letter advising, with a careful suggestion that, and Kathy, you can correct me, that we enter the anticipated Friends donation now into our budget, right? Either in Friends expense line, a Friends gift revenue line, or miscellaneous.
Noting that doesn't lock them into that amount at any given point,
Doesn't
but it does.
Lock them in.
Yeah.
However, the Friends pride themselves on being an independent entity. They don't want to get locked into a yearly obligatory contribution. They want to leave themselves some flexibility, which we respect that. I mean, again, they're their own, they work hard at what they do. We can only, we would like the donations. The library, we would like as many alternate resource funds that we can find, sources of funding that we can find, but we can't demand it. It's kind of a sensitive thing. They're very generous and we're very appreciative, and we're taking this route where they have made the offer, we've accepted it, but again, it's not like a contractual thing. So, we are reluctant to enter it into the budget now. I don't think the Friends would appreciate even being in the budget. So if it comes from the Friends, say in the first quarter of next year, it'll be entered into revenue, just like if we got a grant out of nowhere. That would be entered into revenue during the course of the year, but not in advance. I think that would keep the Friends happy, and the trustees also want to take that route. We don't see that as being not transparent. We see that as being equivalent to any other grant that we might get during the course of the year, and you're just not sure if you're going to get it. And then come April, you get it. So we'll enter it in April as residents. And I just wanted to get the select board's opinion on whether they see that as upfront or whether they see that as
My opinion
something
is,
less than
my
transparent.
opinion is that you should level fund this and not reduce the budget because you're expecting the Friends to pay. That's just my opinion.
But-
That way you get a true budget of what our costs, and then if you get the grant, it's great, but, or you get the money from the Friends. But by reducing this, it doesn't give it an accurate number at the end, you know, like an 8% rate increase or whatever it is, it's really not 8%, you know what I mean, it's.
This,
Well, I would just ask, because this is a question that we had at the trustee meeting, what would happen if we didn't get the money from the Friends? And we would actually make this budget work. So it could mean that next year we don't get as many books, or we don't do as many programs, or maybe we find another way to fund those programs, like volunteers, for example. So if we
I
could,
understand you can do that.
Right.
That's not a problem, but still, you're reducing this budget. You know, to me, it's not really transparent, because you're reducing it. Hoping, I know you can work with that budget, but next year you're gonna have to raise that budget if for some reason they didn't pay, but I expect them to come forward, you know.
like, we can't even establish an exact number at this point.
No.
So, we've talked numbers.
Yeah.
But if we were to try to, this month in December, try to pin them down on a number so that we could. No, they, we
Yeah.
would,
You don't want to pin, you can't even do it, but I wouldn't even try to pin them down to something.
And my suggestion in that respect was if they kept the number, the expense numbers the same,
Right.
then of course the revenue would have to increase, and that they could put it in the miscellaneous. That again doesn't say that the Friends are gonna be locked into anything, it just means that it's accounted for at the top, you know, you want revenue over expenses to be
Right,
that.
that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
What was that?
I think you.
I don't know, I got, you're working with them, I think it would be presumptuous for you to do otherwise, you know, lock them in. I'm sensitive to them, the work they do. Sounds like you got a good plan.
well, the plan is to reduce the amounts in those line items.
Yeah, you're going forward with that, and then, you know, you'll come up with a number for whatever they're gonna offset, or they're gonna supplement on their timing.
On their
Yeah.
timing.
Right.
Is that the way you've done it previously?
This is new. No, this is more, hopefully this will be more systematic in the future, but it has not been in the past. The gifts have been, sometimes it's the bench, sometimes it's reupholstering the chairs. It's been kind of,
Materialized.
yeah, it's, but recent discussions have been about more regular, more direct contributions for things that, like the director thinks we need, not just a memorial bench, but books, you know, it's, this, so we're hoping to become more systematic with the donations from the Friends book, but it's an evolving thing.
The Friends feel very, very, very strongly that they don't want to be part of this
No,
budget.
I don't blame them.
They don't wanna fund them, yeah, they don't wanna fund the library. I mean, let's say we were suggesting, you know, fund this thing flat, you know, fill all these coffers back up.
Right.
Right?
It's not a lot, but,
No,
$4,000 worth between the two categories.
right, it would put our percent change in the tax request to approximately 11%. Right, is that what we said?
Yeah, if we restored those two categories, yeah, the tax request would be 11%.
But there is still some confusion on the trustees regarding, I'll just ask it straight up. If you have money in a certain line item, does this, and for any given reason in a year, it turns out you may not need that money in that line, but you do need money in another line.
Right.
Do you freely shift funding from one line to another line to meet that cost?
We have in the past, right now?
You have in the past.
Try to keep it in the same projection, but yeah, I mean, it's,
Overall, you mean.
yeah.
Yeah, overall, but if you didn't have a repair this year, but you needed something else, you just shift the funds.
Interfund balance.
interfund balance. Got it.
Gotta know the terminology.
And if we change, from one topic area to another, for example, it would be best practice to go, capital to capital, or people to people, or whatever. You don't wanna necessarily go to, from one type of, you know, what you're operating
Well, let me
library
give that example.
expenses to
So,
the capital expenses.
let's say, so we basically dialed down our books and programming, $4,000, right? Say we fill those lines back up, and we go with a full budget. And then April, the Friends come through with $7,000. They're gonna wanna make sure that their $7,000, made up a number, is spent on books and programming. So
then that money would go.
that money that was gonna be for books and programming would go to, say, a repair.
Or
If
reduce
they,
taxes.
if they allow it, right?
If the
If you prove to them that this repair, I'm just throwing this out there, but if that repair was more critical,
Well, yeah, that's the question, because on their mission, it says that they wanna do things that are for the betterment of the patrons' use of the library, which they envision meaning like books and programs. So if we had the money in the books and programs, and then they did give us the donation, could we move what we had in books and programs over to repairs?
Yeah.
And then their money would fund
We'll show them
the books and
receipts or
programs.
whatever, we'll demonstrate that their money was used directly to purchase what they wanted the money to be used for. But the money that we already had in the coffers, on our end, we would shift it to, say, a repair.
And I guess with that question in mind too, is presenting an 11% increased budget manageable, because we were trying to keep it under 10.
Well, that's,
See, I was thinking of putting that into miscellaneous revenue, but you don't wanna do that money.
put what into
It-
this
and-
line.
The $4,000 into miscellaneous revenue. And then it would go up, but it would be more of a realistic, transparency on the budget.
And then
Instead
if you're low in the miscellaneous, but you have that money in the actualized money from the Friends, that's okay. So if the actualized money in miscellaneous is low, but if the actualized money in the revenue from the Friends is higher than zero, it's okay, because your bottom line for revenue is still there.
Try that again, one more time.
The $4,000, put it in miscellaneous revenue up here, line item, so you're still got the same number at the end of the day, really.
No, wait, now, we have dialed, we have decreased our budget by $4,000.
Right.
For
Right.
books and programming.
Yeah.
You say put it back.
You're gonna
But
put
don't
this
put
back,
it
put
back
this
in books
back.
and
But I don't
programs.
put an expense back in revenue.
You put the revenue back in, and then
You
you
put the
increase the
expenses back
expenses
to
back.
what they were. And then you put the miscellaneous revenue number here, that you expect to get the $4,000.
So
That's this option.
yeah, that's kind of like, that's kind of what we're trying to avoid, because of the relationship with the Friends.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying.
Like Brian was saying, just you.
What was that term you used, Gavin? What?
interfund balancing.
Interfund balancing.
Mhm.
Alright, well, that
As
sounds
long as
like,
the budget comes out all the same.
as long as the budget comes out all the same.
Well, and that happened this past year too, because our repair line was much higher, but, we spent more in repairs, but I underspent in other areas to make it come out right.
And you may be short on funds for fuel, right? If you go by your budget, but someone has to go carryover, I pay the fuel bill or something.
Yeah.
That's my opinion of it. I mean, there's
Well, we've
other
heard
countries that
some
do that.
differing opinions on the matter over the last 6 months. I just wanted to get yours.
That's why we've done in the
What are the
past,
auditors
it's worked.
say on that, Kathy?
We've never had a problem with it.
I haven't presented it to the auditors. I also,
Because they usually,
I would be willing to.
especially anything capital, usually you can't stray from that line item too far.
Well, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Because we would stray far.
Yeah,
And
right.
we could stray far in theory.
Right.
If we were to take something from a book and spit it on a
I
sidewalk.
don't know what the town auditors would.
I can present the question to the town auditors if you like. But I know in my experience that
I mean,
if
for
you-
us,
I think you're fine. I mean, Adams got upset when we talked about getting too technical, as long as they can keep to the bottom
We've
line.
had audits for 15 years, and someone says all of a sudden, well, you paid these auditors quite a lot of money each year to go through what you've done, and it always passed muster. So I don't think you always need to reinvent the wheel. As long as you've proven you've done what you were set out to do, you haven't had any financial improprieties of anything of that nature.
And go on vacation.
So that's just, again, I'm just telling you from past experience and my opinion.
Okay. Good to know.
Do you have, I'm curious about your opinions, whether leaving it like this or adding to the revenue line and restoring those two categories? Do you have, what do you think?
Does the select board have any idea of what their tax increase is gonna be next year? Projected amount?
Wednesday.
Got a gut?
Well, it's gonna go up.
It's gonna go up. More than a regular year?
We'll work that out on Wednesday.
I wouldn't commit to that right now.
I mean, depends how much do we anticipate we'll get if we use any of our ARPA funds, you know?
Yeah. Just to
That's just a
maintain,
one time.
right, our goal of those ARPA funds is to do things that are long-term investments. It's like the new water meters for Fairfield Center in East Fairfield, the investment for them, and the study so that, because the federal government says they have to update their water storage facility there, a different type roof system. Those are the things we wanna help out with.
For your time here things.
Yeah, long-term things that we probably in the budget would not come up to this money. There just wouldn't be the money to do those kinds of things. Some of the projects, even big road projects, you start taking culverts down on the North Road. You know, some of those are gonna be $500,000, $750,000 culvert changes. Yeah, so you kinda gotta be careful, so you get some money in hand. And we're fortunate, I don't know, 2 months ago, two come in from the state and told us they were gonna pay for a bridge. Tried to get them to move it up closer to Chester Arthur Road Bridge, cause that needs it.
Parity road, yeah.
Yeah, but if they give us that, we're going to let them use it. So, and you never know, like some years you use a lot of sand and salt. So far this year, we've been fortunate, we haven't had to use as much, but.
Do you have enough cold patch to fill in my closed sidewalk? Just for the winter until I can get it fixed?
That orange cone, you put out some.
Well, that's
well,
You think so?
yeah.
He said yes.
I think you just saw him shake his
Yeah,
head.
hey, well, got some
Still
cold
having
patch
trouble
on.
finding a contract. I called that guy,
Oh, no.
he passed.
Oh, he did?
They passed on it, he said he would pass,
Oh,
he
okay.
wouldn't, it's too small.
Okay.
So if we are to, if the trustees are gonna make a few final tweaks based on tonight's conversation, I'm not sure we will, but what's the deadline for the final? This is the draft final.
So we need to have something approved by you, and I believe, you also approve the library budget? So it would need to come to us.
No,
by-
we don't, that's approved by the
They got their
voters.
own.
Yeah,
they
that's
got
our
their
own
own
warrant
warrant.
article, so you don't.
So as long as it's ready to go by the week before the first of the month, I need to be able to enter all the numbers into the computer.
So the last week of December.
We have
So
one more
Christmas.
meeting, right?
We
26th.
do, we can't do it, I mean, I don't think we should be doing it on the 26th because that's the holiday, the day that staff and the federal government, everybody takes off. If we could do it, and I know that there are staff people who are not gonna be here, if we could do it the 27th, that would be better,
I'm not gonna be here then, so.
You know. definitely. So
It's
then,
got some federal holiday there.
so maybe we should give, well, it's the Christmas day. Christmas is on Sunday, and so when it's on a weekend, it falls onto the following Monday.
You got all that week.
You're going all that week. Okay.
So that should work.
So maybe we can push it back to the previous week.
We have our meeting this Thursday, so we can make one more
Probably survive it without me.
approval.
We get Dave, wake Dave up here.
We can see how.
So it sounds
I
like,
can help
in
Chelsea,
terms
so
of,
I can, I'll be there for.
your revenue and expenses piece, you could go either way, so it seems
Yeah.
like the select board is fine with either
Yeah,
way.
either way, what we decide.
And in terms of, the salary question, it sounds like the suggestion is that you create your own,
If we are to
If you are to.
pursue that compensation, we would make our own policy.
And that would need to come to me as soon as possible, so that I can, most policies, and correct me if you think this is not necessarily for the, library, but policies, normally get reviewed by legal counsel before they are enacted. So that would be something I would expect we would still do.
We have never done that in the past. This would be the first policy that we've had a council review on. We've had our policies for 10 years now without it, so.
So that's why, correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely necessary, and I
Wouldn't
don't
see
know,
it was necessary.
It's basically gonna be,
We would need to change our policy to make sure that it says something about deference to the library's policy as well, just so that we have it.
Yeah, I could see we'd have to do that.
yeah,
That's not a big, we change it in our meeting.
okay, alright, so we'll get busy on that. Alright,
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay.
Good luck with it all.
And everybody else.
Yeah, I believe everybody else is here for the wind project, and anybody not here for the wind project that's not a staff employee of the town. That's everybody.
Yep.
Morris, you go first, and then you go home. What you
Yeah,
wanna stay?
It's been up
Probably
since
a
one.
little- I said you can come first if you want, then you can go home. If you want, maybe take a while. That's what I
It's not
figured.
complaining.
Any leeway on the sidewalk, the guardrails?
Wednesday, from 7 o'clock. Start.
We're gonna invoice immediately. We need to get an invoice from them as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'll make sure I tell them, form them, need it, but you're gonna need it now.
Yeah. We're kind of in crunch time around that because we have to get the money, all of the requisition for that grant in with pictures and finished product, as soon as possible, so that's where we are with that.
Guess nothing else, just, gotta order a couple of augers for Jimmy's, for the 550 truck. 2 augers, $2,800.
Worn out.
How'd they do it that cheap?
Huh? You're not scared me when I see you, bro.
Yeah.
It's, 7 years, so. The only one I'm doing for me, be Fairfield.
So is the truck repaired now, so to speak?
Yeah, it's. Little thing, it's a brakes, so you don't wanna be down too long. Could be 2 weeks before we get them anyway, so.
So they're ordered, is that what you said?
No, I'm gonna, if you got,
Gonna get them,
yeah,
have one
if you
in.
got guys say, okay, I can order them,
Yeah,
get them ordered tomorrow.
gotta have them.
I'm sure.
Anything else, maybe going along? Last week you got to fill some more potholes and got some grading done Friday and now we're back in a little bit of winter.
Looks like we're gonna be into it for a week or so,
Yeah.
depends which way the wind blows, but.
I was gonna say,
Nobody knows.
not as much as they originally thought though, is it? Well, of course, they don't know until it
You
hits
know,
you.
as I said, depends which way it winds and how things blow.
Yeah.
Don't wanna see the rain, I see the snow, but snow out there over there.
And had to use up too much salt and sand yet.
No,
So is it here?
I got something for him, Will. Sam White wants to, he said have you stop in, cause he thinks you're widening the Reynolds Road corner too much.
okay,
So just stop in and talk to him about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Everybody healthy and happy and,
So far,
yeah, well, that's good.
Sidewalk well doing good then?
Yeah.
Must see it was
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
past today.
yeah, working good, you know, first time I had it out, but.
Yep, good.
Stay on the trail with it.
Yeah, we have a lot of sticks this year, overall, so. Hopefully not.
Clean them all up.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, the state, well,
Yeah.
pushing every summer.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No trouble, Mo.
Yep.
Thank you, Morris.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Hey,
I'll
Mom.
make sure I tell them.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Yeah.
Mom.
Yeah.
The guy was out in his house on South Road,
Yeah.
where he wants to move his driveway,
Yeah,
he's trying to get in touch with you.
I guess, I don't know who wants to start.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. There's you know, it's hard to call them down and laugh, but they work, so
Okay.
they'll go on.
So I'll give myself a number.
Would
Yeah,
you,
my
do you think that we should, would you like to have, the public speak? Or would you like somebody, the public to have time to speak, and then we can go into speaking on the topic of the wind, farm, or would you like to do it vice versa? Would you like, I think that Brian wanted to kind of talk about a couple things first, and then go into the public speak.
I think we'd have the public comment
Yeah.
for our agenda.
So, Brian wants to-
Well, just a follow-up on the people who are against the turbine farm. So far, we have 73 residents on the pond. We have done no soliciting, we've done no calling. This is just from the email of the minutes back in November that we sent out to the people. So, it's my responsibility as the Fairfield Pond Vice President to pass along this 73 people against the project.
There's more than that,
Yeah,
they haven't come forward yet.
okay. So, that's what I have right now, but everybody should know that a lot of the residents are in Florida or South Carolina or someplace like that, and we really haven't reached out. Plus, our email system is not the best in the world either, so. So going along from there, Kathy knows, after the last meeting, I sent Jason Day a note asking him specifically if they've done a wind steady on the Horgan property, and if they did, where did he do it, when did they do it, who did it, and what were the results. And he sent me back a general note saying, first of all, who are you? And which is right for him to say, I guess, and just general things. You could get this map from several places, and the town is one of them, and or a lot of the things like it weren't required by the CPG. So I introduced myself to him, and explained that I was just interested in the wind study, just to, if I was going to be putting in a multi-million-dollar project, I'd want to know when's the wind blowing, how often the wind blows, where it blows from, just all these questions before I would invest a lot of money. I've checked with the state of Vermont, and the average industrial wind turbine is like 2,300 feet and above, and I think Mr. Horgan's is somewhere between 600 and 700 feet, so just that alone made me question things. So I sent back Jason another note saying, let's make this real simple. Did you or did you not do a wind study? And apparently he went away. So I never really got an answer from that. But from the research he told me to go look at, he told me to go look at the paper that he has as the wind map for our area. And I don't know, I showed me copies, but I don't know if you could bring that up. It's on page 106.
Of the town
Town,
plan,
yeah.
I don't actually have it with me,
Okay.
but I can go get one.
Well, I'll just stick this out here. So here's Fairfield Pond. This is the site for the wind turbine. And all this stuff is really hard to read.
What's this gonna say?
But this is what, this up here says this. So you can see it's a light green, and that's telling you here that there's hardly any wind there. It's like one of the lowest. The darker green it gets, the more wind,
So what you're saying is it's saying that where the site is proposed.
yes, it's low wind according to whoever did that map. But what's kind of important, Jason makes reference,
And you said the lighter the green, the less.
yeah, so that's as light of a green as you can get.
Should have done that.
So that fine print on the left-hand side says this map and the corresponding data is intended to be used to inform energy planning efforts by municipalities and regions. This may also be used for conceptual planning or initial site identification by those interested in developing renewable energy infrastructures. The maps do not take the place of site-specific investigation for a proposed facility and cannot be used as a siting map. So he's referencing that map as that's why that area was picked for everything, but this fine print that I don't have there states that don't do that. That's not what this purpose of that thing is for. And it's written right on the upper right hand corner or left hand corner. That's just a blow up of,
Yeah. Read that.
and also looking at that map, if this project ever does go through, we're opening up a can of worms like we've never seen before. And I think that consideration should be put into a lot of this in the decision making. And because there's one person that's for this, and right now we have 73 people plus that are against it. And there could be a whole heck of a lot more if we tried to do a little bit of soliciting. And so that's that part. There's a few other parts that I just want to kind of beat up Jason a little bit on. I don't know if those are the right words, but at the beginning of I think back in November, he presented that you couldn't see the lake. At which point in time, Mr. Horgan took a group of people up to the field, and without being at the top of the turbine, they could see portions of the pond or lake. And since then, and then that time after that, it was mentioned to him that, have you done any studies from the pond itself? And he kind of made a joke out of,
Well, we'll
Not
just
yet.
wait till you're done, then you can
he said he didn't have a boat.
write your notes.
He said he didn't have a boat. But now in some of his other stuff that he's just kind of dumped out in the last couple of days, you know, he says that 85 to 90% of the pond cannot see this. And, you know, so he contradicted himself from not being able to see it to being able to see it. And there's a lot of contradictions in the report that he sent. I don't know what you want to call it. His last report.
He called it an analysis.
His
and
analysis?
It was prior to his, it was prior to the judgment of the Energy Commission that he's not.
So I think that, you know, our town plan, the language states on page 64, land development in proximity to Fairfield Pond must be carefully controlled to protect water quality and scenic beauty. And if this project goes through, what's going to stop the number of other wind projects in the area? I mean, again, Fairfield Pond is the heart of Fairfield. I'm in charge, I say in charge, I work probably 100 hours a year with the loon biologists on the state, creating places for the loons to live and protecting them and stuff. I don't know if I can talk about you guys, but Brian is the president, and he spends timeless amount of hours checking into water quality. Matter of fact, I hauled water quality people to stay all around the pond, looking for site runoff and or streams coming into the pond for contamination. We've also worked very hard on developing a website. I know Ron takes care of the beach like it's his lawn. And so, not just here to complain, but I'm here to say, I care about the pond. This means a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to people around here. And I think any kind of visual obstruction, ruining our mountains, anything scenic, I'm going to speak for the whole town of Fairfield. It really hurts me to see this being done. And I think the first time that we voted on this, I was hoping that everything would go away. It hasn't. It just keeps coming back every couple of years. And I know the state, this is something the state wants, but this isn't going to make a drop in the bucket. And it's not something we need here, and especially on Fairfield Pond. I guess that's all I have to say. And then I could go on and more, but I'm just babbling. So, thank you.
Thank you for your input. Dave?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
For your motion. I'd just like to correct you. I don't believe Jason ever said that you're gonna catch a little peak of the pond from our hill. He said you can't see it from the beach.
Okay.
No one ever said that it was impossible to see Fairfield Pond if you looked hard enough. We never said that it's gonna be impossible to see the turbines if you looked hard enough. I guess we'd like to know if we're in compliance with the town plan.
I've got one more thing to say, and I don't know.
Well, it's his turn right
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry, yep,
Right
excuse
on.
me.
It's his turn right now.
excuse me.
That's my
How many
question.
feet from that shore is it up to where that site is? Anyone have that number?
Yeah, he is.
It's from the shore, yeah, it's about a mile, it's from. Most of the pond's about a mile away. Shore.
Yeah, he says from, it's about a mile and a half.
And it's amazing how much coverage there is.
But have they done a wind?
There's enough wind there to suit us. These turbines were designed to operate on a lower wind. These aren't kilowatt jobs, or megawatt jobs, they're kilowatt jobs. 25 kilowatts.
So what you're saying is it takes less wind to run?
Yeah.
I had a question about before that, Jason, is that energy stay in the state of Vermont, or is that?
Yeah, it stays on our side of the substation.
So it doesn't get shipped off for tax credits to Connecticut or Massachusetts or?
Can I speak to that?
Well, if someone knows the answer for sure.
I know the answer. It stays on our side of the substation.
He's asking two questions.
Thank you.
He asked about the Rex.
So I checked into that a little bit after we spoke, or you questioned it last time I was here. So all the energy goes on the grid, whether it's renewable or not renewable. There's several tiers Vermont, the state of Vermont has produced. We get most of our renewable energy from hydroelectric. I think like 46% comes from Hydro-Canada. I think we have like another 20% from our dams within the state. Even like Burlington Electric McNeely wood plant is renewable because it's wood. The state of Vermont, if you go by the word renewable, is 100% renewable on the grid. cause we don't have coal and we don't have any, gas. And those are what they call non-renewable. But they created a different tier, so, and they don't talk much about, hydroelectric, because, I think somebody with a lot of money wants to make this other tier grow. And that's what they call, I don't know if it's clean energy, cause hydroelectric is clean energy, but they created this other tier. So what happens, whether it's a hydroelectric dam or whatever's inputted into the grid is metered, X amount of kilowatts or megawatts. And the same if it was Mr. Horgan's wind site, or if it was a solar field, or any other wind turbines, it goes into the grid as general electricity. But they know that this wind turbine created so many kilowatts of electricity, so it goes on the grid as clean energy. Now, that gets added up in a monthly term, and then the electric people know that we have X amount of clean energy tier 3 solar fields and turbines energy on the grid. So now people like Ben and Jerry's, they're a green company, so they're willing to pay for the green part of the higher priced tier 3 energy, so they take that off the grid. But it's all the same electricity, and it doesn't make a difference where it comes from, except they meter it off as how much was put in by the tier 3. So what happens with these green companies or whatever, if they don't use up all the electricity that's on that grid, then it goes to other states as renewable energy credits, or RECs. And the other states buy it, and they use it as their own renewable energy, so they don't have to, so they can say, we get this much renewable energy, but it comes from us. Now the state of Vermont wants to slowly eliminate that, and to do that, they're gonna have to find more companies like Ben and Jerry's. And I can't remember them all, there's probably like 10 companies or 15 that are totally green and use just that energy. And it's like hydroelectric is like maybe 6.5 cents a kilowatt, and turbines and other things are like 24 cents a kilowatt. And I think back during Governor Shumlin's day, he dictated that 20% of all power companies would be buying this tier 3 stuff, and I think since then it has gotten more, you gotta make more of that and cut back on less. But it's not a reliable energy, either by the sun or by wind blowing. So they get like, I'm just gonna use a simple term, a knob on a hydroelectric plant. They can turn it up or turn it down more depending on the electricity needed throughout our state. And so that's really the basics. Now, if your home, if you had a solar panel in your house, that'd be like net metering. So they figured out you use, I don't know, $100 worth of electricity. So they put enough solar panels on your house to eliminate your usage. So there's like two little things, net metering, and then there's the stuff that's dumped into the grid, that tier 3 stuff. And so that is my understanding of how, so for you to say that it's gonna stay here is not really true. It goes onto the grid, and if there's people who wanna pay more for this power, then yes, they'll pay for this section of the power. And there may be companies in Fairfield or people in Fairfield that just wanna buy green energy. So, but once it gets on the grid, it goes to anybody and everybody.
Dave, when you say it stays on our side of the substation, what do you mean by that? I don't quite get that.
That it's not traveling backwards. But I think that Dennis and I could be talking outside our wheelhouse right now. I'm not an expert at it. I don't believe Dennis is either. So, if you really wanna get the right answer, you might wanna look beyond us.
Okay, I won't argue to that, but I do wanna say, one more thing and then I'll leave everybody alone. Jason and his whole company got shut down by P.E.G. Did any of you people see that?
I heard it today when I was working in the woods. Well, not, just that he could not represent himself before that board as a citizen like he was owner of a company.
I think it may have been a slanderous statement, you know.
But that's the way it was on the radio. When I heard it was, I had headphones
I
on
think
in the woods.
You have the paper?
He is not, he's had a history of representing, himself in such a way and not meeting deadlines, so that now the state utility company is not interested in hearing from him.
He
It
has to have
doesn't
an
mean-
attorney represent him. He
Any
can't represent himself.
any of the community members who want wind farm either can be self-advocates for their wind farm, or they can get a legal representation. I just got an email from, just before this meeting that answered to that effect. So either it would be you or it would be a lawyer that you would hire.
Okay, just to make it clear, so this is, so now we're not the experts, so this is an 8-page document issued by the Public Utility Commission. In a historic fashion, the people that I'm talking to, this has never been done before. Mr. Jason Day, and I'm gonna read you, it's not just like slow on paperwork. The last paragraph, we have found a pattern of non-compliance. That isn't just paperwork, non-compliance, ineffectiveness, unresponsiveness by Mr. Day, which necessarily prolongs and undue burdens case litigation before the commission.
Excuse me, but aren't Peggy and I here to represent ourselves here as the petitioners?
Go ahead. No,
Okay.
listen, I'm clarifying what happened. Okay, it's on the agenda. I think we need to talk about the facts. And I'm just reading what the PUC said about Mr. Day.
He didn't meet some deadlines.
Okay,
So
I mean, we're trying to meet deadlines right now, that's why we're here tonight.
okay. So Mr. Day is the one who made a presentation to us. He made a presentation to the Regional Planning Commission. He's prepared all the documents for this project, proposed
Yeah,
project.
yeah.
So when the PUC takes a historic action against him, and not only him, but any of his employees, I understand there's a pathway forward for you. I acknowledge that. You have a pathway, you can, as Kathy said, but it's very important for this select board to understand that this is a historic action, not based on, some trivial matters. It's a big deal. It's never happened before. And this is the same person who this is the same person, and, I don't wanna dwell on this, but, we have the minutes from November 28th, and Mr. Day did say that you cannot see the pond from the site. Fact.
Well,
And that's, excuse me, well, go ahead, what?
I just would reiterate that, what his intent was, the beach, because he knows.
No, it's on public access TV. Okay, so it's not his intent. I know you can't see the beach, he said that in his report. So when Mr. Day makes statements, he's the expert. So he said, you can't see it. A town employee told me 6 months ago, you can see it. We did the
We
site.
all knew you could see it.
Okay, well, he said it, he's the expert,
misspoke.
he made the presentation, and,
it was untrue.
Mr. Day wrote like his summary that is in our file, and in the summary, he said, the map that Dennis showed, I can read you. Okay, this is what was addressed to the select board and the project review committee. The town supports the development of and siting of renewable energy generation resources in the town that in conformance with the goals, strategy, and mapping outlined in the plan. The Horgan Wind Farm follows the town plan by citing in those areas depicted as a potential resource on the wind source map. And then he goes on to say, what he's basically saying is that this is his basis for putting it. That's wrong. That's not, I mean, we just.
That's not the purpose of that.
And it says it, so
map.
he makes a statement about, you can see the pond, he makes a statement that is clearly, that map does not support that statement. And then he goes on to say, he has having substantial deference, meaning the town may not simply ban an energy system from a certain location without providing acceptable location. That's wrong, that's not the definition of substantial deference. So I give the man the benefit of the doubt, then I see a statement about, a simple thing, you can't see the pond from the site, wrong. The town map is the reason I put this here, wrong. Substantial deference is X when it's not X, it's Y, that's wrong. And that causes me to question things like simulations, other points in his presentation. He's not here, but these are not trivial matters. This is a big deal, and you do have a pathway forward, but that's what I wanted to bring up on the agenda item, is to say, this is where we're at. This isn't personal.
I think it is.
It's not personal. This is an expert who made presentations, and, go ahead.
I'm thinking maybe Brian should recuse himself because I think it is getting too personal for Brian.
I can state that after I've reviewed all of the same documentation as the town administrator and researched as much as Brian, if not more, his walking through the papers in front of him is exactly what I found as well. It's not personal when the documentation adds up to a certain conclusion. And there is a way forward for you. The problem is that Jason Day can't represent you and also has a historical record of not representing well. So unfortunately, you were stuck with somebody who is not representing well. And that's what the Utility Commission has stated, which is why he's banned. I did talk to Holly Anderson, the clerk of the Vermont Public Utility Commission. You know her. She's been on the original paperwork. And she stated that that Jason Day may not be an official representative of others in front of the commission. If there is a project for an individual or a corporate entity that files a case with the commission that Mr. Day is the installer for, Mr. Day may not be listed as the official representative for the applicant. The official representative for the applicant must be either the applicant themselves or a licensed attorney. So that's her statement to me. Because my question, and I think I may have CC'd you, a few of you on this, my question was, how do we move forward? Because he's been this person and some of this stuff has not added up. So now we have the opportunity to clarify what's true and then move forward.
Are we within the town plan of that project?
Just from what I've heard off and on, I think there's some ambivalence there. Is that the way you understand it? The way I've listened to some of it, it's gonna obstruct the natural scenic thing around the pond, similar to what was going on with that, Rocky Ridge one a few years ago or something of that nature. So then others say, well, I don't know, that's why I'm listening to stuff, cause I don't have a set opinion right now.
I think proximity, we're outside of proximity, aren't we? I mean, we're not on the pond or adjacent to the
But it's
pond.
observable from the pond, I think that's the, again, I'm not.
I mean, that's what killed the other one, right? The
Flicker and basically as this board, if I understand it right, we either sign a letter saying we support this to regional planning or we don't. Am I misunderstanding that one?
Yeah, we can either say, we can Jason has asked us to write a letter
Right,
for his submittal, well, actually, I guess that's no
that's a
longer.
moot point
Yeah,
really now.
so
We're,
Dave,
we're asking, and I mean, is it, I mean, what is it that's the obstruction? I mean, we're definitely, we're not gonna pollute the water, I mean, it's upstream.
I think it's a visual effect. That's the impression I'm getting from different ones that get on to me about it. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but that's,
You gotta look hard for them, you can't see them from the east side. You can't see them from the beach,
no, but you can pretty well see them from the west side.
not from the water.
you can see him from the water.
You can,
can
he's
see-
saying, he said right here, 85 to 90% of the pond can't see it, so at least
Right,
15%
there you go.
that can see it.
But
So it can be seen from the water.
you were saying on the west side, I'm saying to get down by the water, we gotta be careful with our words here. The majority of the shore can't see it, and the majority of the pond.
True, but do we really know how high these things are?
I mean,
True,
36
he
feet.
put a balloon up there. Did he put, what if they were on a 10-foot pedestal of some sort of cement? You know, there's a lot of ifs that he's never really answered, and if he
You're gonna
did answer them, how can you believe him?
You're gonna see them.
Okay, then you're answering our own question. If we're gonna see them, then it's in proximity of the pond and it's ruining our beauty.
You see houses and barns, see camps on the pond.
They're not 138 feet tall.
No, and this doesn't discharge effluent either.
Does anybody have the policy that they can read it one more time? You got it, Kathy?
The what?
She just went and got the.
I guess-
So I was
Oh.
going to.
I got it, what
But
do you
it
wanna know?
doesn't, I
What do you
don't
want?
have
Town
it
plan.
with me.
So the town
The
plan,
policy is also on the website, I can pull it up.
yeah, so the town plan says,
Maybe he has it.
you wanna read it? It's page there's excerpts from the town plan. Page, you can start with,
I mean, we set out to do this, I thought we were doing something good here.
Page 64 of the, so Fairfield Pond says, land development in proximity to Fairfield Pond must be carefully controlled. Proximity to Fairfield Pond must be carefully controlled to protect water quality and scenic beauty. Fairfield Pond is a resource used by people for fishing, swimming, and boating. Land adjacent to Fairfield Pond is used for agricultural and low-density residential land uses. No land development shall be allowed in this district which degrades the pond's quality. So it does mention scenic beauty there. Page 45, an important objective for Fairfield would be to work creatively toward preserving the character of the lake while simultaneously improving quality. Page 38 says commercial development must be confined, so commercial development must be confined to specific areas where environmental beauty and quality shall not be impaired. The Fairfield Municipal Plan has received an affirmative, I'm sorry, what's this part? I don't know this part.
that basically says, because we have an enhanced energy plan. Can I see that?
Yeah.
We have
I
an
don't see
enhanced
people up
energy plan. It basically gives our town plan an affirmative determination. And what that means is that the PUC will give substantial deference to the language in the municipal plan. So your question is very appropriate. You know, what does the town plan say? And substantial deference, according to the PUC, is here, and the planning board, select board, regional planning is here. It's called due consideration. So these are legal terms, that's why when Jason was given his explanation of substantial deference, the bottom line is, David's question is, what does the Fairfield Municipal Plan say, is really the deciding factor of this project. So the select board could have an opinion, the planning commission could have an opinion, the regional planning commission, project review committee could have it, but the PUC is gonna determine what the municipal plan says. And here's the other thing is, our municipal plan, you know, according to a Supreme Court, you know, the experts that I've talked to that looked at our municipal plan, is very protective of Fairfield Pond and shall not prevent construction of 637-foot towers on a ridgeline overlooking Fairfield Pond.
Okay, yeah.
In addition, the town, here's the point that I was curious to learn. The town must apply the standards of a municipal plan in order to maintain the town's clear written standards. Basically, if you arbitrarily apply the municipal plan, you won't have a municipal plan. It won't have, that's what the Vermont Supreme Court said. So,
basically no pick or choose.
pardon me?
No pick or choose.
Yeah, right, don't pick or choose.
But is the word proximity still applying here?
Well,
That or scenic beauty. I mean,
It's just not gonna affect your fishing trip or your swimming.
that's not what we're saying.
You're gonna have to search to see them.
So the reason why this would have been helpful if Jason had been a legal counsel is because by law, a lawyer has to be impartial. Their opinions must be stated as part of as truth, otherwise they get disbarred, they have to go by the law.
So we
And-
have our attorney look at it and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
That's what I was going, we both need an attorney.
Well, we have a town attorney, you could look at it and just, I mean, I haven't had anybody question it or this, I mean, I'm a little bit behind on the 8 ball, I guess, but I would say if we could have our attorney look at the wording in Greek and then you get it straight, I guess. Whether it adheres to the plans or not.
Is there a timeline with this?
That's absolutely, we've had to
it's
ask
supposed
for
to
an
be-
extension while we're doing these tests. It's very
So
time
when I
sensitive.
was, it is, there was a 45-day window with, comments, and then there was supposed to be a report that was provided to, the Public Utility Commission at the end of that time, but there was an extension of that to answer all the questions and comments that were coming forward, so there is a timeline, and it's imminent, basically.
well, they just I think today they just granted a 45-day extension.
Which
Oh,
is,
okay, that's good.
which is
So
gonna go very fast.
So, you know, as a member of the select board, I think absolutely our attorney ought to look at terms like substantial deference. He ought to look at our plan and, you know, look at the PUC and, you know, he should consult with people that understand these terms. You know, the people that I talked to at regional planning said, can you see the project from the pond? I said, yeah, you can see this from the site, you can see the pond. All of the pond? No, not all of the pond. All of the shores? No, not the eastern shore. You can see it from the pond. And he said, well, if you can see it from the pond, it's my opinion, that's certainly within the proximity. But the best thing to do is you know, what we just, you know, talk to her, you know, ask our attorney to look at these terms and give us.
I agree.
So when I questioned Holly Anderson about, I said, does the law support the following comments? And this was just relevant to the report that, the analysis that Jason Day gave to us. She said, this is not something that can be answered by the commission. The commission cannot provide legal advice to persons that may appear before us. You may want to reach out to the Department of Public Service, that they may be able to speak with you, or consult legal counsel. So it is in line with the suggestion from the state to go to legal counsel.
Well, it says just sitting around here, let's get it together, so we need to
It's
send
a
this off
legal
to,
issue.
yeah, we need to send it off to ours, and apparently from what's been quoted, you're gonna have to find someone for your end of this.
Absolutely. When it comes right down to it, it's not about what we feel or what anybody else feels, it's
What
What-
qualifies, what doesn't qualify. I mean,
yeah.
I got a pretty open mind about it. I'll be honest, that presentation made to us that night on TV didn't impress me a hell of a lot, Dave. I gotta be quick handed with that one. Just the presentation from that fellow. You know, but I think both sides, we need to get this off to is it Barlow?
Mhm.
Yep. Get it off to him
Wow.
and give you folks some time to find someone that's of the same expertise, I guess.
Is it, you have some comments too back there? Are you for the pond?
Yes, we live at the pond.
Well, come on up.
Do
if
you have
some-
comments for us tonight, or were you here to participate in it
Well-
just by listening?
The only thing that comes up in my mind is I've listened to this discussion is the balloon sighting really gave an indication of where you could see it from. The balloon was way up above the tree line. We looked from the west side of the pond, and it was very clear that a large portion of that wind turbine would be showing. And even on Reynolds Road, which is much closer, we could still see the balloon quite high above the tree line. So I think it's quite visible. That's my input.
I was quite frankly surprised. I looked at it and there was a dozen people came down Mackenzie Road looking, and we all like, wow. And it leads me to question like the simulations, because you could clearly see the balloon, and when I see Jason's simulations, you can't see, and I'm not an expert, I don't, but when I looked up at the balloon, I was, wow. And it wasn't just me, Dave. There was a lot of people coming down going, wow, that's a lot higher. It's a lot higher, and Tom recommended it. It's a lot higher than I thought. But I think we're at a reasonable point. And you said it. It's a matter of legal interpretation of the plan. And it really is going to be determined by the PUC.
I would add again, that it can be seen from up on Mackenzie Road where you get down to the water. There's not a lot of visual.
Okay, so when people say there's not a lot, like just cut, don't worry about them. Her camp, she's gonna see it. That whole Louis Candy, that whole western shoreline.
Is Carissa's house gonna see it?
Well, I could see, like Gus's house. I don't wanna answer that. The point is, you can,
Oh yeah, that's the other thing, it was a black balloon, and the intent is to, try to match the.
And another thing about this, do we have any positive input that the balloon was not, was it 125 feet or was it 180 feet?
If you wanna go up there tomorrow and fly one for yourself, you go right ahead.
you could see, it was up for 2 days.
Yeah.
And
No, I never saw
you
it.
could see, well, you saw it?
Yeah, but
No, that's right. But I was surprised how you could see it.
Roll
But
down.
I think he did a fair job of, but you could, the wind was.
Jason wanted it to be seen, he wasn't afraid of it, you're gonna see him.
Yeah, this isn't really about the balloon, this is really about the turbine height. And the turbine height was surprising to those,
That was the tip of the blade.
yeah, the tip of the blade.
Yeah.
And you could clearly see, anyways, I was surprised, I'll just leave it at that. I was surprised how high they were.
We just thought, we're doing something good here, and we've been trying to, preserve, you talk about, how beautiful the town is, well, we've resisted, chopping, building lots, and we could do a lot of them. And maybe that's, what you want on that hill, I don't know. But, I thought these turbines would, postpone a lot of development. Wouldn't have to add on a school, or it wouldn't tax Morris on the road crew either. It's really not gonna require much infrastructure. And I really don't believe it's gonna have much of a negative impact on anybody's fishing or swimming or scenic beauty. It's not much different than a silo or a camp or a home. You gotta have income to make things turn.
Greg, you go?
Yeah, I'd like to add one comment, and that is to commend and give praise to David and Peggy for wanting to do this renewable energy project. I think that's splendid, and it's really public spirited on their part. My only concern is that their choice of how they're going about it.
if they had decided that they would go with solar, I'd be here to endorse it 100%, because it wouldn't affect the visual splendor of the area. So anyway, congratulations to you, David and Peggy, for your public spirit.
You're welcome.
I got one question, how does that work from taxation purposes? Are those towers taxed by a town, or are they considered something non-exempt, or what?
I wouldn't think they'd be taxed any different in a silo, would they?
Well, I don't mean they're generating income for whoever, for you, for the person running it through the system. I just wondered how the taxes, how they were taxed, or if they were taxed in some manner for the value.
Good question for a select board probably, but, hopefully the silo will be generating income for somebody too.
Well, I'm sure people are gonna question us, and that's something we need to know more about.
That can go into
Wow.
the question.
How do we keep this on the front burner, because it is time sensitive?
Oh, I know it is on
Well,
the front burner.
we'll call
I
the
would
lawyer
s-
tomorrow.
Realistically, what, the meeting in September? I mean, after Christmas?
What was the?
If you get hold of this
our meeting?
attorney, if he gets a chance to look at it, we get it back here so we can look at it before we have a meeting, so whoever you able to engage. So we got some information from.
I guess it depends on how long it takes for legal counsel to do their analysis. I can find out that tomorrow.
Well, if you can, I mean, I would suggest that we get after him to say, hey, as quickly as you can get this to us, is it realistic that we might have it by the end of December?
Okay.
He may say no, I mean, I don't know, but.
Can I ask just one question? No matter how much we complain about anything, the lawyer for the town, he reads the town plan, and that supersedes no matter how much I come here and complain and how many people are against it and whether we can see it or not, the town plan is the gospel. If he reads that and interprets it, that
Not necessarily,
scenic
because you
beauty
said
or,
PVC or PUC had the final say, right?
I know, but I'm just talking about
The town.
us here.
Yeah, I agree.
So no matter how many times I complain and tell you there's 100 people that don't like it and are against it and, you know, it could pollute the water and.
Well, we'd get a
you can see
report,
here.
we'd get a report back, we'll put it on agenda, and we'll get briefed what our attorney says, and then we'll, you know,
But-
if it's
but-
vague, he
But if
might.
you were for or against it, it'd be a way for the board to have some support one way or the other. Now, some would say, you need to recluse yourself, you do, cause you're a relative, he's got a place on the pond, so there's only myself.
And not really David, cause he lives on
And he
Pond
lives on
Road.
the pond road, so you got 1 out of 5 that could actually, if you were to hold everything right to one place,
Yeah,
that could make it, I got no dog in that fight.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you got a
But
dog
we
in,
gotta have a.
we do have a dog in the fight that we, as a town, we as select board members,
Right.
we have a town plan. So.
And then, well, that's why we're saying, we need to get it,
So the town plan is the key,
it's
so the
either,
town plan is the Bible,
that's the key.
pretty much.
okay.
And that was your original question.
Regardless of what we think
We're
and what
gonna
we
work on
want,
that question.
I mean,
or what you guys think.
I respect everybody's emotions, but yeah, they got these rules for a reason, and I think they're gonna dictate. I mean,
This here will just literally, in my mind, give us a little more, something to stand on, whether you vote for or against.
Right.
At
But
least you know-
the town would not put that in their book or policy if it wasn't meant to be. I mean, cause
Right.
this was written after the, Swanton deal, so whoever wrote that must have had the intent of protecting,
Well, and the voters voted upon it.
right, so I mean,
It was
no.
crafted with a lot of community input, and
Yes.
help from
And
the
regional planning and different-
commission,
yeah.
and there was a whole
Wasn't just somebody
process.
saying, oh, I wanna see this in there, not that.
And
Right.
so we-
Which you can do actually, when you do a 5-year plan, you have meetings and people say, hey, I don't agree with that, and enough people that don't agree with it, it doesn't go anywhere.
And lawyers were looking at.
And the lawyers are looking at it too, to make sure that and I think regional planning budge, they went through it too,
Okay.
They helped put it together,
you know.
right?
But we will get back as soon as we possibly can.
when is that again?
Well, hopefully sometime the very last part of.
I need to ask our legal counsel if he can get it back to us, I heard by the end of this month. if that's reasonable or if sooner. So that would be
Yeah,
my
well,
question
it's
to
gonna be
you.
a challenge on our end as well, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
you-
recognize that.
I
It's,
mean,
oh
we'll
yeah,
know.
I mean, I also
You'll
have
have
challenges.
an answer by the time we meet on Wednesday, right? Hopefully.
I'll have as
That's
best.
one day.
Huh?
That's one day, yeah.
Well, 2 days.
right, but he may give you an answer whether he can get on to it right off the bat or not.
Right.
And that would be the
Right,
biggest.
I can ask the question about if he can get it to us by the end of the month. For sure.
So at that point, I'd like to get this meeting done with, okay?
Really good man.
I don't really take anybody's time, I just,
Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, nice to meet you.
yeah, likewise.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, well,
See you, Dennis. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're all welcome to stay for the end of it.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
Haven't seen you in a long
Yeah.
time.
Yes, gentlemen, appreciate your service.
Something like that? No, no.
Yeah.
See ya.
See you then.
Yeah. Okay.
Peggy?
So, anyway, that, I think at some point you'll be asked to write a letter. Isn't that how it usually works?
Is this their home farm?
No, it's Margaret's. Isn't it?
Spring Hill Road, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that road called? Margaret's Road?
Spring Hill. Melissa?
No.
So we're just informational, we gotta vote on this.
I think it's just informational at this point. I just,
Typically what happens is you hear about it and then they send a message and say, can you write a letter of support? We've never not supported someone putting their land.
Yeah. That's what I thought that was. Oh, that's Margaret Sugar House,
It's just
Yeah,
a little recap.
at the end of the 66, yeah.
yeah.
Little light reading for,
And then 3 acres, that's where that barn
it's
is.
just little light reading.
so, the other thing is, what time are you planning on starting the meeting on Wednesday?
We talked about 10 o'clock, if I remember.
I didn't remember a time nailed down, but
I thought that's what we spoke of, right? We talked about 10 o'clock starting that budget meeting on Wednesday.
how many hours do you think you're gonna need?
At least by 10, I go earlier if you wanted to.
Usually, we've started at 10 before and we were done around 3 o'clock.
And lunch around at noon?
Well, yeah, cause Kyle tried to get the town boys to.
But I know, and I've reminded Lars, I sent him a text.
Is
today.
9 better, Tom? Would 9 work for you, or get,
I could probably make it work for one day, yeah, and, cause I've got a basketball game.
oh, so
That'd be good.
earlier is better?
That I gotta be done by 4, so.
Gavin,
Or 2 actually.
9?
Sure.
I just need to know because
Does 9 work?
Yeah.
Because I wanna-
you can start if I don't get there, that's all.
I just wanna be here when it
9
happens.
o'clock.
So 9 AM, okay. And I did get a quote from Nemrick. Let me preface my quote by, this quote is based on the fact that I, or someone in the office will remain doing the part that I already do on the Lister job. And this quote is hard, crunching numbers. So they're only going to charge you for the hours used. So this is a quote, worst case scenario per se. It's $18,432. but you will only be billed for the hours they use,
That they actually,
actually
Can you
use.
put in-
It's not a contract, you're not gonna have to pay them $18,432 and then find out they only used $8,000 worth. This is, it's a pay by the hour. The other piece though is, if by chance you don't go with a outside assessor, you keep on with listers, and you get somebody green in here, it's still gonna cost you that much an hour to get them trained by that company. And any company, I mean, it would've, at this point, it doesn't matter what program you have, you're gonna have to pay to have somebody trained.
Okay.
So,
My opinion is we do go with that company, but I'd really like to see it some not to exceed price.
well, this is basically what this is.
Okay.
I mean, talking with them, this to me sounds like it's not gonna get there. But there's a large amount of work that I do on a day-to-day basis. So I'm the lister that's up for reelection, but I'm also up for reelection for town clerk.
that's it.
So if
Those old buildings.
That's what I-
this is all based on
Steel Trapper Ryan's.
someone with my knowledge is doing the day-to-day stuff. If there wasn't someone in the office and they have to do more hours, it's gonna be a higher quote, but there's
Right.
a lot of day-to-day that's done, but, yeah. So that's, which I don't think that's a bad quote. I mean, you're getting yourself up, you got everything at the right level, let's keep it here. Let's
No, I
not
agree.
fall behind again
I
and
agree.
get yourself into this, business of reappraisal. If we can.
Now that they know the town, because they obviously did all the listings pretty much,
Mhm.
I wonder if they could give us a not to exceed price though.
Well, let me see if I can get that, I'll talk to Chris tomorrow, and, to exceed, I'll talk to Chris tomorrow, and I should have.
Maybe they can't do it, but.
Well, and what they didn't wanna do is okay, we're gonna charge you $18,000, and then
Yeah.
at the end of the year, well, you didn't work that many hours,
Right.
we don't wanna pay the difference, so
Yeah.
that's why it's gonna be billed out by the hour.
Time and material.
Right,
But-
but they've been, so far, I mean, I think they've been very good to work with, very respectful, and working hard to get the
Yeah.
information right. So, anyway, they're trying to meet with people, they come in to go over their property, so at any point you wanna come in and
Yeah.
go over, there's no numbers at this point, because those will come in at the end. With the market the way it is right now, you can't, today's numbers may not be the numbers in April, so, anyway,
Is it 3 tournaments they could plan on having?
6 was the last I understood.
6, yeah.
6.
so, that's all I have,
Tom, there's a book over there that.
but we'll need that number for budgeting.
That I've been
Yeah.
printing out for you too.
I mean, we're already a lister down now,
I
And-
wish I'd known.
No, I think it's
Bloom,
smart.
I'd like to see
and I
that.
think it's an outside firm,
Yeah.
non-biased,
Oh.
no,
That's definitely the way to go.
it is, and they can go in and do it so fast and so efficiently and just, it's done. And it's time effective and everything.
Yeah.
It would actually cost you more money to get somebody trained.
Yeah.
So,
Has there been many complaints?
complaints about them?
Yeah, I mean, as far as their reappraisals?
We don't have there's no numbers yet.
Oh,
Yeah, there's no numbers. Right now, if you get left a card, you can go in and you can look at your sketch. And there's been people that have, wanted to go over their sketches and having questions, but, there's no numbers, but the market being what the market is right now, people, it's going to be a shock because everything is really undervalued.
Yeah.
So everything's going to go up considerably, but the tax rate will nicely come down, right?
Temporarily.
Well, anyway, so, but, they seem to be right on. Do you guys want this in here? or
Oh,
not?
sure.
That's the copy, my office copy, so you can leave it on the
Thank you.
table. So that's, so 9 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yep.
Lunch at noon,
Sounds good.
okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
So,
Condense it.
yeah. In Fairfield, the procedures for the Fairfield procedures for financial management, we had talked about how many people need to sign warrants, and that I would just look to see if it was 2 or 3. On bullet 5, under accounts payable, it states warrants. A warrant is reviewed by the select board and approved with at least 3 signatures. But, that's actually not accurate, because it doesn't say anything about making a motion. So, based on the fact that we make a motion, I would suggest that the warrant is reviewed by select board and approved by motion and at least 2 signatures. That way we are covered, because there's a majority of the select board that is already approving it, and then only 2 signatures are necessary. So in terms of that item, I would suggest that you move to change the financial procedures for financial management, line 147, to say warrant is reviewed by select board and approved by motion and at least 2 signatures. And then we can change that, and then we only need 2 of you guys to sign it. The problem has been that,
Well, if you come to a meeting, only 2 people show up and they gotta be signed. We always ratified them at the next meeting. 2 people
Right.
signed them, the next meeting they had to be ratified.
right, and for whatever reason, in the documents, it has said, the only thing that I did in order to create these documents was pull what we had into one file, basically. I never changed anything, I just pulled it all together. So we can change it to say 2, and then it'll be accurate to what you want and what you say. we
I'm
can
gonna
do.
throw it in because it's happened a number of times.
Right.
We've come to a meeting, illness, whatever it was, only 2 were here. So the way we had it set up was 2 could sign the thing, or 2 could come in.
Not so she could do the
So
warrants.
the guys got paid, the warrants went out and things got done, and the next meeting we ratified. If there wasn't enough present at the previous meeting.
When,
I think that's fine.
not
So what I
for
found
agenda.
is that it is fine, and we just need to make sure that that's accurate in our book. So if you could make a motion to.
I'll make a
that effect.
motion that 2 people can sign if there's not enough at a meeting.
Right.
And then we ratify the warrants at the next meeting with the board and present.
Full,
Oh.
or majority of the.
Majority of the board present at the next meeting.
I'll second that.
Anybody opposed?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So the snow plowing rates, the road salary, so basically the road salary average is $24.71 an hour. For the time to plow is about 1 hour. We use about
When you say rate though, that's isn't all the other stuff added to it, is it?
No, that's just the average salary
So
rate.
what does the benefit package add on to it? That's what
Ooh,
we
I
use.
didn't do that.
Well, that's what you need to do.
Okay, I can do that.
It's gonna be, they use almost over 100% addition, but the
So-
real rate's probably like 63%.
Okay, so I will recalculate that and make sure that it's clear at the next meeting. So altogether between, if we had gone with the 24.71, and the 500 pounds of salt a year at 21.98 per pound, which is how much we're getting, how much we're paying in all of our APs right now. The total cost for salt would have been $255.58 per plow. And the total cost for salary would have been $280.29 per plow. So altogether, the entire cost for the operation is $12,000, according with that 24.71 per hour, $12,052.53. As compared to BFA is charging $17,000 for snow, $24,000 for salting. St. Albans City is paying $16,000 for snow and $21,000 for salting. So we're really low.
Yeah, I know we're really low.
So the question
There's a
becomes,
lot more things you can add into that, because you got your time for billing, there's a lot
right, all of
extra
that other
things.
time can definitely go in. So I will
Well, that
correct,
wear and tear too, I mean, you have to figure that in.
Well, right, well, you gotta figure out an hourly rate for the truck, an hourly rate and expenses for the man,
mhm,
and then the cost of the materials.
right,
So if you charge out, I'm just throwing a number, most of them won't put a truck on the road for $105 an hour.
mhm.
You know, then you put your man plus the benny package on it. How do they compute those bids for the other ones? Is there a way they compute it, square footage they take care of?
I don't have their bid documents, I
That's
just
something
had,
we should be
so
able to
this
get
is
copies
the-
of.
I can get their bid documents. I was told that I shouldn't actually even get this, but I can definitely get that for you.
Yeah, it's public knowledge.
Yep.
Just so we're realistic, we're not making numbers up, so.
Should have this, you know, hopefully we could have it so we could discuss it on Wednesday, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's, could
Yeah,
be
I
just to have it for
Yeah.
that like a
So
discussion.
these are the FY 23 Goslin bid for the 5 different schools, or the 3 different schools, and the superintendent's office. So, and there's another one from Small Dog. These are the 2 bidders who came in when they were putting all of those other ones up to bid. So I'll have that on Wednesday.
Can you get the overhead benefit, what that number is?
Yeah, I can look it up, yeah.
You know, realistic base off $25 an hour, right?
What's that?
For the pay scale, $25 an hour. The basic bennies all off.
But then when you add all the benefits, it's probably $50 an hour.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
as our base, 25 for the pay scale,
Yeah.
and then go from there.
So I've been working diligently on closing out the FEMA grant. I'm not done. I consulted with Jonathan for 3 hours. I know what needs to be done. I received all of our information from Stantec. It's gonna be about 500 pages. It's due by the end of the month. So I'm working on that. I've been working also with Amanda a little bit. We met for an hour to talk about the budget. And we're in very good shape with understanding projected amounts.
Is there a deadline on that?
The budget,
No, the project,
the FEMA.
Yeah.
Everything has to be, I need to have that done by the end of next week, so I'll be living here.
Did you get,
I mean, there's really
What
no
about
question
Jonathan? Was
about
he
it.
gonna assist you on that?
Everything is due at the same time. We have the auditors coming the first week of January. The budget is due by Wednesday, and the FEMA has to be closed out by the end of next week, so this 3rd week, right? By the end of the 3rd week of this month, so that we can get it to the state, so they can get it to the feds.
That's very important. That-
It's essential, yeah.
but has Jonathan helped you, or have you had him help you on any of this?
I've consulted with him for a couple hours.
Okay.
He told me what I need to do. So I know how to do it, but that's, you know, in terms of pulling it all together,
Yeah.
he's not doing that. So, let's see. So I am planning on working through the weekends, and I am planning on,
Line item, 'cause we had a disagreement about it.
Yeah, I remember,
Yeah.
I remember.
We agreed on one thing and then it gets transferred to a meeting I wasn't able to make,
Yeah.
and then that's, so it can't go both ways.
I thought it was
Pretty sure it was on that ballot. Maybe I,
don't think we changed it after we were here before, we voted.
we always seem to try to use up what we had, carry some
Yeah.
with that year.
so
Cause wasn't it $100-something you were talking about putting into?
111,000.
Yeah.
So in the 2020, for the 21 warrant, the 21 ballot that was reflecting the 2020 budget, we had an article that said,
This is last year's, this is all the stuff proposed for 2022.
this is for 2021.
What was on 2021?
It was
We
not
chose-
on there.
So So when we voted last year, in March,
Right,
it was not on the ballot.
it was not on the ballot.
Well, that's the reason, what I was told at the next meeting we went to, because I questioned several times why it happened that way. Why were we not sticking with what we originally agreed upon?
I was really, so it said, the legal voters shall approve the select board to reallocate up to 113,000 from the 2020 general fund, not the 2021 general fund.
So what's the question on the 2021? What one do you have in your hands as you speak?
Yeah, it's 150.
113,000.
This is as of what date, Bill? So am I, because I'm getting confused here with what we're going on.
This is the 2021. So
21.
that's
So this would have been going on to
into
the
2022, but
So Article 3 on the 21 town meeting results, okay,
yeah,
that's this one. But when it comes to the 2021 town meeting, we have general fund surplus to the equipment fund.
yes, and they voted that yes, right? Did they vote, that's what I'm talking about right
Yes,
there.
they did.
So how much money was carried over?
So what we didn't do is we didn't put it in the budget. I'm trying to figure out, the problem is it's not in the budget. It's not written anywhere in the budget as a revenue
So
source.
just a minute, the voters voted upon it to allow us to, whatever carryover there was, to be put into the equipment fund, is that right? Am I reading this right?
Right, that's correct.
So
But-
that money belongs in that equipment fund. The voters voted upon it. So your
So
accountants
what's
or
what,
whatever
so
we need
this
to
is,
do.
so this is my trouble, and this is because
Well, then
I've
maybe
looked
you
at
need
it
to-
upside
Maybe-
down and
just a minute,
backwards.
maybe we need to get Jonathan to help us, or Amanda should, she's
Amanda
our,
has been
she's our
sitting with
treasurer.
me. She's been
Legally,
sitting-
that money belongs in that equipment fund.
Right, but the problem is if we don't put it in the budget for this year, if it hasn't been in the actual budget, it's not written anywhere in the budget. Then when we actualize it in this, when we transfer when we make the
So
transfer.
if we left it alone from the get-go, we'd have been okay. It could have been put into our equipment budget back in 2021.
That's right.
If that had been done the way we had all agreed upon at that meeting, we wouldn't be in this mess now.
That's right. And that was a suggestion from Jonathan. I was like 2 months
And
into
we
my
had told
job.
Jonathan the year before, that's the reason we had done this for at least I know of, two decades. And we had accountants do all the bookwork and we were never in violation of anything.
Yeah, and the problem, the problem is, it's a bookkeeping issue. We have a
Well,
bookkeeping,
then
when it
maybe we
comes to.
just put it into our budget, you put it together and you put a notation. This money was allocated by the voters.
Okay.
How do you feel about this now?
right?
Yeah, just say, this is a question of accounting,
It is.
it's a question of accounting, this is where this money's supposed to have been, it is accounted for.
Okay,
It was just, in my mind, this is a procedural thing that got screwed up.
so when it's over by like 100,000 or something, 80, so we have about a $22,000 overage from the original budget. However, we also will be having a $67,000 surplus. So for example, we have $90,000 extra revenue this year,
Excuse me.
and we spent $22,000 more than we were supposed to.
Well, I suspect when we put this budget together at the end of this year,
Mm.
I'm with you, we're gonna be short of money. I'll be shocked if we aren't.
Right, I mean, I can't believe fuel and the sand and.
We'll be using up that surplus before it's done. And if it isn't, we need to dedicate it. When we ask people to vote upon it, do we need it for more fuel? Do we need to put, if we did have, say, $50,000 left, we need to put this extra into gravel for these roads we've been neglecting to put gravel on for several years. Maybe we just put it in there and specify specifically. We're gonna use this money to put $55,000 worth of gravel on roads.
And I did find
That's
out
what we
that,
talked about last year, but
It just
I mean,
didn't.
it did some, but.
But let's make it specific in our warning, what we wanna do, where that money is gonna go, is to extra materials for those roads. That way there, we know at least, on top of our budget, this, maybe some of those roads will actually get the amount of stuff, materials they should have on.
Mhm.
I'd like to go down that rail trail and scrape off all that stuff they put onto that last layer of it.
I don't know about you, I was today, where I go into from the swamp pasture,
Yeah.
there's a 2-foot hole.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to see those guys, I mean, we're gonna tear it all up going back and forth
Of course
with
you
the
are.
trucks.
Yeah, no doubt
Unless they
about
put a ramp.
it. Yeah. Maybe they can put in one of those blind plates for you. Oh, yeah.
So
So just to address this, so we can.
what I can
does
do
it-
is, yeah, I'll put it back as a transfer, go ahead.
Yeah, and just make sure we note it in there, the reason why was an accounting error, however you wanna phrase it.
Okay,
But legally, it belongs in that fund.
okay, I can do that.
There's no need to make a big, mea culpa story out of it. Something happened, we're just trying to correct it. So,
Is that, okay, so these are the current, what I've done over the past few days is I've calculated every
Just one?
anticipated expense through the end of the year. So I just wanted to walk through this with you if you don't mind.
well, aren't we gonna be doing this on,
We're
Wednesday?
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I'd like to really get done, I gotta be honest with you.
Okay.
You guys can stay and finish it, one way or the other, I'm heading out pretty quick.
So why don't you take that with you and you can take a look at the surplus and
See where we're going.
Yes. The bottom line is that 2020, that in this year, we've overspent expenses by $22,000. But we should, after all of the anticipated expenses that I've calculated for the last few days, we should have a fund balance of about $65,000, $67,000. And that's before we've made a transfer to, if we decide that we wanna transfer any of that money from capital that we haven't used to, so that's without considering some of the options that you have as a select board that you might wanna do. That's the bottom line.
Well, I'd rather heard we had a little extra money than not enough to operate.
Yeah.
Finish out the year.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Any errors, omissions, or comments?
Oh, there's something I can't, but I think we can answer. Excuse me.
I wasn't here, okay.
Well, we'll get back on this. Cool. No, I can't see anything that I find changing.
When's the tax sale coming up?
December 21st, right?
What's the minimum bid?
There's about $1,600, I believe, old and back taxes.
2,200 include, I think I remember 2,200 including fees.
Legal fees and all that.
Yeah.
And there will apparently,
Around 2,200. Minimum bid to cover taxes.
Oh, yeah, I saw it there, okay, I didn't read quite far enough, sorry.
That's okay.
so on the day of the tax sale, we need somebody present with a check for that amount in order to close the deal. I can.
Is it done right here? Is it? That's the
I
way it's
don't
been done
have-
before.
I have no idea.
That's how we did it before when it was Mrs. Sloan's house up there. The
So-
auction was done right here, or the bids.
So I'm able to transact that in my computer to get a check to you as soon as,
Is there a time of day on it, say it starts?
I think it's 3. maybe.
I know Linda said last time after it got done, there was some that were expressing interest, wish they'd get themselves involved in it.
And Linda is gone next week, so either one of you or I can attend.
But I'm pretty sure I guess I'd consult with Hawkins, but I thought the last one I went to was here, in this room.
It's already posted outside, I can get it off the bulletin board if you
I'll
like.
just look at it when I go back. Anybody looked at those warrants?
Okay, those guys all signed them all.
Sign them?
Yeah, they're all signed.
Let's make a motion to go then.
Second.
these lights. Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Before you do that, I'm just finding out about the tax sale.
I forgot, did you have anything for us when we make the final adjournment?
No, I'm just asking Linda about the tax sale.
That's what I was thinking. They might get too excited, they might keel over us.
Who's that?
Dave.
Yeah.
All right, allowed talk.
Okay, I forgot to mention that, it's 10 a.m. on the 21st. One of you has to be there to bid, and I did clarify with Tim that we don't need a check from the town that day. At first he said we did, but we don't.
Is it gonna be right here at the town?
Yes.
This room, right?
Yes,
That's what I thought. And it's at 10 o'clock in the morning?
yes, on the 21st.
Okay. Just give you a heads up, that building is still full of fun stuff. I saw that, Brenda.
Do we need anything else from Linda?
I don't believe so,
Thank
unless
you,
you guys
Linda.
do.
Okay, you're welcome.
But, there is a bunch of his stuff still in there, and I said, you might wanna be pulling it out, cause when it goes to tax sale.
Did we already vote on the adjournment? Right,
We
did we?
We had a second, but I don't think.
We had second, we never
I'd
voted.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. 1 minute,
Okay,
personnel issue, or procedural issue. I need some advice.
so I guess if you can shut that off for a few minutes and come back in, we can